Well, it is mid-July, and over here in the United States, we can say these are the dog days of summer because all we really have to go on is mid-season Major League Baseball, which even as baseball fans will readily admit it is absolutely not the most exciting thing in the world to be a part of. But what's great about the beautiful game is that it truly is a sport that never stops. And we just concluded the two major tournaments of the summer. I know the Gold Cup has just begun, but to consider that to be a major international tournament, especially with the squad that the United States has put forth, it would lead you to believe that that is not necessarily going to be the case this year. But this is the Too Many Guys Soccer Show, Tournament Edition. Today we are rolling without our esteemed driver and host, Mike, but we have plenty of other guys to fill in and give their most valuable and honest and extremely intelligent opinions.
I think you have the wrong show there. We'll give you our opinions. Intelligence.
Gee, you're about to have your big move, man. How you doing, my friend?
Yeah, I'm exhausted. Like I've been up since 2:30 in the morning, and I don't know. It's 9 o'clock right now, Eastern Standard Time. So it's been a good day. I can't wait till Friday. I'm an AP teacher, so I'm going through my AP training. We got it at noon. As soon as noon's over, I'm packing the car and I'm driving 9 hours to New Orleans. So hopefully the next time you guys see me, I'm gonna be at the Arsenal Crew bar and stuff like that. I'm gonna have all my gear. I'm gonna be at it. So I'm looking forward to it. It's gonna be really excited. So it's gonna be a new flow for me next week. So looking forward to it, guys.
Right. And you're gonna be an hour earlier for your time.
Oh, thank God. I miss Central Time. Like, I'm a Cubs fan, but when the Cubs go on the West Coast, and it's like 12 o'clock there. It's like 9 o'clock here. I'm sorry, 12 here, 9. I can't watch the games.
Yeah.
So I'm looking to go back to Central.
That's awesome.
And the food.
Rob, how you doing, my friend? I like your shirt. Why don't you explain to us what's going on with the shirt?
So the shirt means Rot gegen Rassismus, which means Reds Against Racism. It's a Bayern shirt. It was an initiative started, I believe, sometime in 2019 to combat, racism in the game. And so I bought the shirt and I wore it because some of the actions that happened at the Euro final. So it's a fun shirt. I love it.
Awesome. Thanks for bringing that and sharing that with everybody. We're going to get to our Sean, we'll get to you in a minute. Cam, why don't you go ahead and jump in? I see you got your Celtic gear on. I see you're ready to move on and get going with the club season, which a lot of us are looking forward to.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, with transfer season starting up, really kicking off. I know for a lot of teams, bigger teams have new coaches, Chelsea, and then teams like Celtic. We have a new coach this season, so love the Euro, but definitely ready to see some league action again.
Chelsea Mike, what's going on with you, my friend?
Oh, not too much. It's been a great weekend of watching just sports in general. Sunday you had your morning tea, your toast, your eggs, some Wimbledon, Novak Djokovic winning again, and then 120 minutes of football action. I've been having a great time. It's been a great time to be a sports fan.
Absolutely. So yeah, let's go ahead and jump into it. So we're going to start with our home team fan and representative across the pond to really give us his take on the conclusion of the Euros and to hear about what is the vibe going on, because I think from over here, from what we're seeing, is an outpouring of real support for the team, as well as support for the players who were taking the penalty kicks, who have been victims of, some not so surprising social media idiocracy, I'll say. So, Sean, go ahead, my brother, take us out. Let's see what's going on. Let's walk the ball onto the field, as we say.
Okay. Well, if we'd had this pod on yesterday or the day before, I don't think I'd have been able to come on board. Obviously been a very, very disappointing last few days. High anticipation on Sunday before kickoff. I genuinely think that the whole nation thought that we would walk away with the trophy. So well done, G. After that 120 minutes, Italy were probably deserved winners. Yeah, as you just mentioned, Stead, there's been a massive outpouring towards the 3 penalty misses, shall we say. Even today, I listened to a radio programme that was up in Manchester, and people had defaced the wall that had been sort of graffitied up for Marcus Rashford, and were sort of repairing the graffiti, shall we say. They reckon that something like 20,000 people have been up there almost, which is fantastic news. And yes, there is a great outpouring. I think our politicians haven't exactly covered themselves in glory either with regards to the whole racism issue. So it'll be very interesting. I think our first internationals in September, and I'm sure that the lads will get a resounding welcome when they come back to international football in September. I've rewatched the game myself, and yeah, just a bit of a shame, I suppose, just from a tactical perspective, that Southgate wasn't a little bit more adventurous in the play. We were all over Italy in the first 17 minutes, I think, and unfortunately, Mancini changed his tactics at half time to stop his left-hand flank being bombarded. Southgate didn't really retaliate. The substitutions he made were a little bit uninspiring, but hey ho, we shall live to fight another day. I was looking forward it. I've had to wait 55 years. I was on the planet the last time that we won a major international trophy, and I thought this might be the second time that I got to see that. I'm pretty doubtful that I'll see it ever again in my lifetime. I think that was England's big chance. There's lots of talk about how the squad have had now the experience of getting to a final in a tournament. But when we go to Qatar, it's going to be like 38, 40 degrees over there. I know that the stadium is supposed to have, air conditioning, but English people don't, as we all know, do very well in the heat. So we don't know where the next World Cups are going to be. But yeah, and then just to make matters worse, we lose to Hibs in our first pre-season friendly.
Hey, don't worry about that, because we also lost our first preseason and our second preseason game when Arsenal's went on the invincible runs back in 2004. So no worries about preseason.
Okay, that's good then.
So, but Sean, you brought up the tactical game plan of Southgate and his lack of changes. Sean, why don't you expand on that? And then I know Chelsea Mike wants to jump in and really give his take on what he saw, because I'm sure a lot of us are thinking the same things, just about the lack of real managerial flair and anticipation and tactics that I think was kind of the worry that a lot of us had about Southgate, even at the beginning of this tournament.
Yeah, the one thing that he brought was he's brought defensive stability, which I don't think England have had for a very, very long time. We're not blessed with the quality of goalkeeper we've had in the past. And I'm thinking of Seaman and Chilton and Banks and the England's great goalkeepers. But what he did manage to do was put together a defence that operated very solidly. I think the problem was the disconnect, not disconnect, that wouldn't be the right word, but when we were playing that 5 at the back with the 2 pivots, you almost had a group of 7 and a group of 3, and there wasn't a lot that was connecting that 7 and 3. And as much as I think Mason Mount is a fantastic player, I'm not sure he was the right piece of the jigsaw. And I was just surprised that he changed the team from the semi to the final. I know that was the only. Well, it was Mount for Saka was Trippier for Saka was the only change. Maybe we just yet haven't found that midfielder. That third midfielder.
Yeah, that one extra piece.
Player.
And you could see that being Saka when he's not 9 months into his professional career. You could see it being a player like him.
Yeah. But then the guy we didn't see any of, but we saw in some of the friendlies before is Bellingham. Bellingham?
Yeah.
And he might come good for the next tournament. So, yeah, it's just a shame that we didn't manage to. I think in the second half, did Italy not have 71% possession for about half an hour? And if the team has 71% possession, they're going to score.
Mm.
So there we are. Disappointed, but hey ho, we live to fight another day, and maybe one day we'll learn how to take penalties. I don't know.
Yeah. Chelsea, Mike, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean,
what's your take on this?
Look, I was sitting at the closest thing that you could find to a soccer bar in Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania. Shout out to Flaherty's in Kingston if you're ever in the Wilkes-Barre area. There are a few people there who watch soccer. It's not a big soccer area, but there were two guys in England jerseys. Sean, you'll be happy to know. So,
good.
but I took my friend he's not a soccer watcher. He does not spend a lot of time. In fact, he said it was the first time he ever watched an entire game in his entire life. And about, it was at somewhere between the 18th and 20th minute, he said to me, if England keep playing back like this, they're going to get scored on. And that was exactly right. They first of all, you're right. They set up with essentially 7 in the back. And I don't know, to me, I think you see these shirts up here, but if you're going to do that, I feel like you really do need like a Reece James on the side. Just he gets through the gears to both back and forward. You're right. They don't have a player like Jorginho who connects the dots out of the back for that. I think Mount could have been that player, but they didn't really, they started him at like a forward wing position.
Yeah,
as opposed to like a 10, where he has played in the past, and in tournaments in his youth, that was his position. So he's quite capable there. The problem was England, even though they had 5 clean sheets in the entire tournament. You mentioned Pickford. I don't blame Pickford.
I'm really not blaming. I'm just saying we don't have a great goalkeeper anymore. That's all.
True. That's true. And Pickford, I think, will improve marginally and get to be better. I don't know about world class. He's not going to be Donnarumma, but there's very, very few people are. That's why. Actually, interesting stat. He goes to PSG on a free transfer. He is the most valuable free transfer of all time. I don't know how you let that happen, but anyway. So, but my point is, they set up for defense, and then you have 5 changes in this tournament where you could get more explosive offensively. It seemed to me like Southgate, I don't know why he wasn't using his subs. You have 5. You can get fresh bodies. Even if they're not more skilled, they're more fresh. They've got better legs. And there was no one really on the England bench who I would have said, oh my God, you can't play that guy. I mean, there's a lot of very comparable skill packages, in terms of if you're playing FIFA, they're all probably in the mid 80s in terms of their rating.
Yeah.
So I don't understand Southgate's tactics. I'm sure we'll talk about the shootout coming up because I've got more to say about that. But you've got fresh legs on the bench. Use them. You get 5 substitutes. It might be the only tournament in our lifetime where we get that.
And you got 6
of extra time. It might be the only time ever you get to do that. Use them. You've got the players.
Especially with a squad as deep as England's. That's a very deep squad. Cam, you and I actually were able to finally meet and watch a big chunk of this game together, Cam. So what is the Scotland perspective on this? I know that you were, in case you guys are unaware, Cam was in rare fashion form where he was wearing a kilt with an AC Milan jersey. It was one of the greatest things I've ever seen. So Cam, jump on in, brother.
No, I think, to be honest, I think someone else really hit it on the head. I think it was a fantastic game to watch. In terms of just pure football, seeing, seeing, fans from England and fans from Italy, in a massive World or Euro Cup final like that after the pandemic and seeing how fired everyone was, I don't want to let that go. I want to make sure that, everybody knows about that. I thought that was absolutely amazing. In terms of the play, I think everybody's kind of hit it. England, when they were pressing forward at the beginning of the game, they looked really good. They looked very much in control of the game. They're able to pass the ball effectively. They understood what each other were doing. And then, as we've all said, when they moved to that they got that goal and they started sitting back a bit, that's when the game changed. I think this game for me, again, as we kind of touched on, wasn't necessarily the individual skills of the players. It was the tactical decisions. I think Southgate's decision to sit back was wrong on his side. And then I think Mancini's decision to take Immobile out and add, he was playing, not the best, and add, I think it was Berardi instead of him, really fired up that Italian attack. And I think that was, a kind of really good decision on Mancini's point. And again, using his subs effectively, bringing on people that maybe aren't the same level, but still had that explosiveness. I think for those 2 points for me, England sitting back a bit too much after that first goal, and then Mancini's decision to really switch up the attack to bring in that kind of false nine-ish type of situation. I think that really played out well for him. So, yeah, overall, I thought it was a really, really good final. Sorry, Sean, congratulations to you, sort of thing. But, I really enjoyed it. And again, as I say, after this whole COVID thing, I thought it was a really solid football to watch. And I think both teams should really be proud of the way they played throughout the whole tournament, and then especially into that final.
Rob, what do you think, my friend?
It's almost like England had no idea what to do with the lead. They got the lead early and they were like shocked by it. And then they just played defensive. And to me, that was a perfect opportunity to, keep going and to do what they were doing. That led up to the goal. And then when they got to the extra time, there's so many offensive players on the bench, and Sancho and Rashford. And the very fact that they were put in not at the beginning of the extra time, but at the later part of the extra time, and their first touch was a penalty kick, was poor decision making. Italy, the two best center backs who are very experienced, Bonucci and Chiellini, they're up there in age, and so you got to put in fresh legs that can really attack, that are dynamic. And Jadon Sancho is one of those players. And to me, it was very, very poor player management, substitution management by Gareth Southgate. In addition to that, I'm not a fan of three in the back at all, because you're basically saying that you'd rather have one extra center back as opposed to a midfielder. And I think it's very too defensive of a formation. I know you got the wing backs and Shaw and Trippier, but I think, if you add another midfielder, if you put Mount as a 10, and then you use a traditional two wingers with Harry Kane, I think that works much, much better. And they didn't do that here. And so Gareth Southgate, well, he did really well get into the final. Once he got to the final, I think he really shriveled up and went defensive. I mean, you're at home. The crowd's behind you. This is insane. And go out there and play attractive football. Don't be defensive about it. And, penalties are one of the great equalizers. And, you can have the whole crowd in your favor, but penalties are very different and very difficult in those situations. So to me, England should have won this game. They had it in their hand and they let a set piece, do them in. And then they didn't use the resources they had on their bench to really make their mark, and they lost because of it.
Yeah, it's almost like Southgate getting a conversation with Mourinho before the game started, at least for the way that final was played. But we've been thumping on England for a little bit. G, why don't you talk a bit about what did Italy do right and how were they able to turn the game around to really appear to be dominant for the second half and the vast majority of the extra time? Because you saw at the end, it was obvious England was playing for the shootout towards the end, and we'll get back into the substitutions in a minute because I believe I think Sancho and come on, brain. Manchester Rashford. Yeah, I think they subbed for Kyle Walker and another fullback. So it was this I kind of see it, but it didn't work clearly. But G, go ahead. Let's talk about what Italy did right and how they were able to take over.
Well, I want to kind of piggyback on Rob. He's absolutely right. You have these young studs. Why not bring them in at the 100th minute? You give them 20 minutes to get a sweat, kind of get the ball at their feet, kind of get used to it. But they're young bucks going against 37-year-old men who are tired as all heck. I really have to blame Southgate for this. I think the lack of experience, but then you go on the Italy side, that's why they brought Mancini in. You got the experience, and he just played just perfectly.
They were crafty. They were very crafty.
But I'm looking at the lineup, and really where I see the weaknesses is in England's midfield. You have Declan Rice, and was it Phillips is the other gentleman? They're kind of no-namers. Yeah, they're young, but what have they proven so far? And really, I think that's where Italy really exploited them. Yeah, it was a shock. The third minute, holy crap, they scored real quick. Luke Shaw. But then when you look at everyone else kind of in that situation, it kind of sparked them after, like Sean said, about the 18th, 17th, 18th minute, where all of a sudden things start clicking. You see like Mancini on the sideline doing his Mamma Mia as he's throwing his stuff out there. All of a sudden the team starts kind of moving and clicking. His experience really led them to exploit their weaknesses, and I really think the central mid was their weakness. Once they had that, and Cam, you're absolutely right, Immobile didn't really do a lot in this tournament. And it was awesome that Mancini got him out right away to get some fresh blood in there. But that's experience as a coach, and I just think that Southgate got out-coached during this match. Again, you have these old gentlemen in the back who are proven leaders. They can only go for so long, and get Sancho, get some of these 19-year-olds to run past them. Who cares if they're offsides, but just the mental capacity of, oh, crap, these kids are going to fly past me. He's going to sit back a little bit more. And if the defense is sitting back a little bit more, then that's when the offense should go for England. It's never happened like that. So why bring him in on the 118th minute for what? I just think it was very bad. So I thought Mancini did very well. He played against their weakness. He saw an opportunity to spread the field wide, but also in the very offensive third. It seemed like they controlled a huge chunk on the defensive end of England, and they just kept on shooting and shooting and shooting. It's only a matter of time. So when the ball is like that, I'm just thinking, oh, crap, just takes one time for that ball to go in. And sure enough, it was a little flick by Bonucci that just kind of went right in. It was kind of a fumble play. And Mike, you kind of hit at it. It's Pickford. He's not the best, but he is the best in England. So hopefully there might be a young buck who might be coming around to take his spot. I wasn't really satisfied with his play throughout the tournament. Yeah, he got a couple clean sheets, but like you guys said, it was all about the defense. Southgate did phenomenal with the defense, locked everything down, but then he's missing the parts of his goalie and the midfield. Forward studs like you wouldn't believe. Rob said how deep that bench is, but Southgate did not use it to his advantage. So I think it's a very learning curve for Southgate. I think moving forward, especially in the World Cup, I think England has a chance to win it. Sean, I know you're saying, I don't think so. But I think this is actually going to spark them to get better. I think they're going to figure out how to play against these bigger teams with experienced coaches. I don't think it's a bad thing. I think sometimes good teams have to go through these lumps to get good.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to say this, as I think we should all touch on this, but the choice to sub when he did and the players he chose to sub when he did, that I think it was a double whammy there, because if he was choosing to sub players who were a bit more experienced or had significant field time throughout the tournament at that time, I don't think it would have been as detrimental to put them in when he did. But when you saw, especially Rashford, he started warming up very early in extra time, and it seemed as he was coming on and then he was stepping back, and then it seemed he was coming on again and he was stepping back. So he was playing this double Dutch game with when to bring in these players. But you saw the problem with that when the shootouts were beginning, because everybody saw when Rashford was walking up, he did not look right from the beginning. Cam, I said that to you. I was like, and my buddy John was sitting next to me. I go, he doesn't look good. He doesn't look good at all. And you saw him when he was doing his walk up, he was doing the little Bruno Fernandes steps, but it just did not look right at all. And that miss also affected Sancho, because you saw Sancho didn't look right. And, look, give all the credit to Saka. He stepped up and took a shot when he did whatever he was asked to, and and he was gutted for it, and his teammates supported him. But that, to sub at that time, to not give those two specific players a chance to at least break a little bit of a sweat, and then say, this is the biggest moment of your career, go score, just seemed to be a bit unfair, even if Rashford's a bit more experienced. But
and then I see actually Rashford is out for 3 months. Like, is
he surgery?
So was that maybe that played in part for him not playing as much?
It could be, but but see, even if it's a shoulder surgery and you don't have to kick the ball with your shoulder, when your arm hurts, it's hard to play soccer.
It does. It does affect kicking a soccer ball, because you got to get your arms up. It does play a huge but at that level, when you're getting hit all the time, maybe he wasn't the best person to play whatsoever. So there's some stuff I think behind the scenes that we don't know why he didn't pick them. But
Rashford's got a very good scoring record. But yes, he did not look right. But Sean, jump in on that. How do they interpret the subs over in the?
I'm just looking at what time the subs came on. So we brought on Trippier, we brought on Saka in the 70th minute.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not sure that Saka was necessarily the right substitution at that point.
I agree completely. I didn't think Saka should have been brought on either, especially because he was dealing with a hamstring.
Yeah, listen, as we've all said, we've got plenty of choice on the bench. The one thing I was going to say, and then the other subs we brought on Grealish 99th minute.
Mm-hmm.
So he had 20 minutes to try and make a difference in extra time. And that I agree with.
Mm-hmm.
The one bit I just can't quite understand, talking about the tactics. So I was, I love my stats. I was living on the stats that no team had ever won 2 penalty shootouts in any tournament. So I thought, well, that's great. Italy have already won on pens, so we'll be there. But of course, for every stat that you can put forward, there's a counter stat. And the one that would have made me jump up is that Donnarumma has never lost a penalty shootout in his professional career, ever. So as soon as I know that, you go, no, we've got to go for the win. We've got to win this in 120 minutes.
Donnarumma looks like he's about 9'7" too. That guy's huge.
He's just enormous. So, so the other thing that I saw was if you look at, again, with the penalties, the players that were on the pitch when the penalty shootout started, we had Harry Kane. He's had 50 professional penalties and he scored 47 of them. The second best penalty taker was Rashford with 14 professional penalties in his career, and he's missed 3. And the third most experienced penalty taker was Sterling, who's taken 5 and missed 3. So he's only got like a 40% return rate. And the next best one was 1. Basically, Sancho and Saka have never taken a professional penalty in their careers.
Mm-hmm.
So it was all stacked against us. And I know this is all easy with hindsight, but we went into that penalty shootout again.
But Sean, I don't even think that was hindsight. I think a lot of people felt that way going into it. We're looking at it going, are you sure you want these people taking PKs? Really? I mean, I would prefer to having somebody like Grealish in there who was very vocal about how, no, I was ready to go. Yeah. But you subbed in Jordan Henderson and you subbed him out. But again, I feel like in that situation, you'd want to go with people who have a little bit more grit and a little bit more experience and who've actually had a chance to settle a bit in that situation than like it or not. I mean, maybe not Rashford so much, but Sancho and Saka are children. Like they're literally children.
There's a bit of a difference, isn't there? When they're in their final training session. And Gareth goes, come on, lads, let's have a bit of a penalty competition.
Exactly.
Who's good at penalties?
Yeah.
Not quite the same thing as actually taking one in the final of the Euro.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? So I'm sure Saka in training scores them for fun.
Oh, yeah.
In front of 50,000 people in your home stadium.
Yeah. Chelsea, Mike, jump in.
No pressure there.
I know you wanted to give us some thoughts on this. Go ahead, Chelsea, Mike.
It was baffling. I mean, Sean's right. I don't understand why Raheem Sterling doesn't take a PK there, and it's just. I mean, it's one of those. It's going to be a scratch your head kind of thing for forever. I mean, if you're subbing someone on to take a penalty, why is it someone who's never taken a penalty before?
Exactly.
Right. Right. And your fifth kicker at that.
Yeah, I
Yes,
know.
sir.
And yeah, I had questions. Why isn't Harry Kane taking the fifth penalty?
Let Saka go first. You know,
He's the captain of your team.
Mhm.
He's the most experienced player. He's, if not the best goal scorer in the world, he's one of them. And I wonder if his missed penalty against Denmark came into play at all there. I wonder if, maybe he was having a little bit of a lack of confidence when they were shooting those penalties in the training session. But I also think it shows how much Gareth Southgate just doesn't like Jack Grealish. He just doesn't like him. And why, I don't know. I mean, the other day he said, well, he took him off because he wasn't playing adequately defensively. I mean, okay, but he just doesn't like him. Jack Grealish has the kind of, maybe not big game experience, but he's been a professional for a longer amount of time.
What I respect the most about Jack Grealish is he's a guy that plays on a Villa squad that's really not very deep, and yet he has repeatedly shown his quality against the very, very big teams throughout England. And he's been a player that I remember a while ago, Sean G and I were like, oh, I want him from Arsenal. And about 6 weeks later, I was like, yeah, I'd totally take Jack Grealish. I'd take him every day and twice on Sundays. So yeah, absolutely. Go ahead, keep going, Chelsea. My bad.
There was one point last year, not in the 2019-2020 season, I said that I would rather have him than Christian Pulisic. I don't know about that now, but it's close. And I'm pretty much done. Just a little bit baffling on those decisions, but I commend Pickford. He did save two. And if you save two penalty kicks, you're supposed to win the shootout.
Supposed to win.
Of course, Donnarumma also saved two, and the difference there was the post. But I know exactly what you were saying. I didn't really get that sense watching Rashford walk up. But yeah, I know that look. I know that look when Nicholas Anelka walked up to take that last PK in 2008. You could tell the guy's sick to his stomach and he doesn't want to do it.
Yeah, let's not forget that Mbappe also missed France's last penalty against Switzerland. So, one of the world's best players can miss a penalty. Yeah. I tell you the one thing I don't understand about the English public as well. They boo national anthems. Why don't they just wait for the booing until the penalties stop? You know what I mean? Because they can do whatever they want during the penalties. So I wish they just booed every Italian penalty.
I mean, I will commend England for, with the exception of the racist abuse, of course, how well they've seemingly taken it. Sean, trust me, I'm a lifelong Philadelphia Phillies fan. Baseball was my game when I was a kid. It took the Phillies 97 years to win their first World Series, but they did eventually.
He's like, that's nothing.
But they did eventually, and you know what? Yeah, actually, the Cubs broke our record. So thanks, Cubs. But I'll tell you, it does get better. And I think if you look at the problem with that penalty shootout was he put that youth there. Well, you know what? That youth is there. And they're just going to keep getting more experienced and better. I think the future is bright for England. I think, you've got to look at them as World Cup. They'll be in the top 2 or 3 in the odds in the World Cup next year. I know about the heat, and it's going to be weird next year anyway. But even in the US in 2026.
Chelsea, Mike, hold on one second, because I want us to talk a bit more about the World Cup. I do. But before we get there, let's run over and just talk about the Copa America final, because I really want to get everyone's take on how they think these two tournaments are going to affect the next World Cup. So, we have Argentina, who finally wins their Copa America from Messi. Messi has a great tournament. He actually, I think he has a total of 9 goals and assists, and the next highest total was 5. So Argentina came to play, and I think everyone kind of knew going in that Brazil probably, I wasn't too high on Brazil. I felt like Brazil kind of is missing a couple of key players to really set them apart. But Rob, why don't we start with you? What is How do you think this Copa America, how do you think the tournament went? How do you think this is going to affect, let's just go with Argentina and Brazil and Uruguay moving forward?
You know, these teams have not played in front of fans in a long time.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know when's the next time they're going to play in front of fans. It might be the World Cup, for all we know. I mean, considering the COVID situation down in South America. But I mean, Messi finally has the monkey off his back, which is now winning a trophy with Argentina. I mean, he has an Olympic gold medal. That's great, but it's not a Copa America, and obviously not a World Cup. So I think they are well equipped to finally just play and not have that distraction of getting Messi his trophy, right? Because we all know the comparisons, right? The Ronaldo comparison and everything, and how Ronaldo had won a Euros and Messi really hasn't, had won an international trophy, but now he has. So I think they're gonna definitely be ready to go. I think Brazil will definitely be up there as well, but it all depends on how Neymar does. Neymar really had a good tournament, but he still, flops around every once in a while. And so the games are going to be vastly different. You're going to be dealing with much better teams who are going to be much better defending Neymar and won't put up with his antics. And he's not going to be able to get away with some of the stuff he does in South America. So, pretty much the way Neymar goes, and if he stops the shenanigans, I think they'll go far. And with Uruguay, I mean, they have some great players still, but they're getting up there. That, like Godin, for example, Suarez, they're all getting up there in age, even Cavani. And can he do it for another year? I don't know. And the heat's going to be interesting. I know it's going to be November, December, but it's still going to be probably 85 degrees at night, when these games are going to be played. So it's going to be, it's going to be dry heat. It won't be humid, thank goodness, I guess. But I'll let you know when I go. Hopefully I get to go.
All right.
And I'll be a correspondent if you want me to.
Perfect.
But
love it.
But no, I think it's going to be interesting to see how Brazil, Uruguay, and Argentina play with fans again, because I think the fans make the game. Fans of World Cups, are especially the group stages. They're very, very impactful, and they're not going to have any really experience. It's going to be really, it's going to be kind of like weird for them to play with fans again. And also, the World Cup qualifying in South America is grueling. And these clubs, these teams still have to qualify. I know Brazil and Argentina will. I mean, they're going to do pretty good, but after that, there's really no guarantee, even for Uruguay, that they'll make it.
Yeah.
So
you never know what you're going to get with Chile either, if they're going to show up or not. Same kind of. And Colombia is relatively consistent. They're kind of a consistent qualifier, but it's not
Colombia did well. They had a player who plays for Porto, Luis Diaz, who had the tournament of his life. 4 goals. I mean, he only lost the golden boot or golden ball, whatever, in Copa America because Messi had more assists.
Mm-hmm.
But he was electrifying, especially in that game versus Peru. I mean, he was fantastic. He was amazing. So, so Colombia definitely has a player in their hands. He's only 24 years old too, so he's going to be somebody to watch. Luis Diaz, look it up for Porto.
Anybody else want to jump in about the Copa America final? I saw the first half, but that was a UFC night, and I was trying to juggle both, but my streaming wouldn't let me handle it. But it seemed like after Di Maria got the goal that you sort of knew that Italy was, or that Argentina was going to win. G, go ahead, jump on in.
I want to say, out of both these tournaments, the biggest takeaway is the goalies. It seems like the goalies went to another level with the PK saves and how important they were to keep these bigger teams advancing. We saw it with Italy, we saw it with Argentina, with Martinez and the PKs. It just seems like, for whatever reason, I'm biased, maybe Mike and I are biased because we're goalies, but just seemed like it was just a goalie kind of weekend last 2 weeks where they outshined even the players. It was a good final. It's finally good to see that Argentina won. But going to the World Cup, unless Brazil has David Luiz as their defense, you said they're missing a couple good parts. So, bring some of these veterans in. But besides that, I really wasn't too impressed with both those teams. Yeah, they're always going to be the dominant ones in South America, but on the bigger stage, they probably get to the knockout stage. But that's about it. So I think, you got your England team. I think you have to watch out for them. Italy, all the big players. But from South America and maybe North America, no big players, I don't think. No major hitters. But I like the goalie work these two tournaments, though.
Cam, what do you think about how these tournaments affected and how things are going to shape out as we move to the next World Cup?
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting. I mean, a team like Italy, I feel like is no stranger to the World Cup. I think the heat is definitely going to be an issue, as we've already mentioned. A lot of these European teams play in freezing temperatures. Summer in the UK can be 70 degrees flat and rainy. Qatar is not like that. In terms of Copa America, I didn't get to watch too much, but for the final, I looked at the lineup and I recognized a lot of the names on the Brazilian side. On the Argentinian side, not so much. So I'm wondering, maybe maybe 4-ish, 5-ish. So it seems like they have a younger team coming through, and if they're successful in Copa America, I think that gives them a good chance at the World Cup. So I'll be really interested to see how Argentina does at the World Cup. In terms of, for me, the World Cup is, I love it because it's teams from different parts of the world with their own individual playing styles. So with how you guys have been talking about how Copa America has been going, how it's been very gritty, a lot of cards handed out, whereas comparative to Europe, there's been, not as maybe tooth and nail. I think it's going to be a really good competition. And I'm excited to see Scotland there.
Yeah, that final Copa America was like a bloodbath. It was like the 9 total yellow cards, something like that. It was brutal. It was actually kind of fun to watch in kind of a weird way, but yeah.
And it's crazy compared with the Euro final. It's like it's worlds apart, and I think that style of play when it comes together is going to be real interesting.
I would say the best yellow card is Cellini. He just ripped freaking Sterling, and I feel like it should be a red card. Like, it's a hard play, but like it was just hilarious. I don't know. That was one of my favorites. Yeah, right.
Chelsea, Mike, go ahead, because you were already starting to touch on this a bit before we switched, and I appreciate you letting me kind of like pivot there. But like, go ahead and finish what you were saying, because you were talking about England moving into this one, but also you were looking at 2026, which is actually going to come probably faster than we expect, and you'll see a lot of these younger players really starting to feature for England that you're not going to see feature for Italy.
Yeah, I mean, England, like we were complaining about their youth, their bench is filled with young people. And Sean, correct me if I'm wrong, but they're doing well in the youth tournaments. If I recall correctly, I didn't research that, but
yes, we are. We got beat in the under-21s before the final. But if you go back the last 4 years, we've won an under-17 World Cup final. We've won the under-21 2-0. Yeah, so the record is very good. And in fact, I listened to an interview with Greg Dyke, who was chairman of the FA about 10 years ago. And we put a 10-year plan in 10 years ago. And he reminded us all, and that 10-year plan included winning the under-17 World Cup, winning the under-21s, with the hope that the senior team would win the World Cup within 10 years. And 10 years is going to be next year. So it's interesting that from a strategic perspective, we've actually achieved what we wanted to achieve and have brought through the same way the French have brought through that youth as well. Yeah.
Right. I believe they have the youngest team in the tournament as well. Go ahead, Chelsea, Mike. I'm sorry.
You're not. France is still going to be up there.
If they decide to actually
Italy's big central defenders are going to be a year older, and they're getting into their late 30s. But they're going to have Donnarumma for a long time, and man, that guy's just
that
really
gorilla back there. Jeez.
But in other things, Belgium, they're getting older. So that's when you look at the favorites. I am a little bit excited to see our American team out there. It's, I think, the first time in my life I've just sat there and looked at the team and said, we've actually got some guys out here who can play. They're most of them are in Europe now. It'll be interesting to see where our striker situation goes. I think it's bad. No, I'm sorry to Orlando City, but I think it's bad for American soccer to keep Daryl DK down there and not have him in Europe. Not only because not only is he was he exceptional for Barnsley this year, he also, the fans loved him. So I mean, getting foreign fans to say, hey, they can actually play soccer in America, that would be nice. We'll see how the Gold Cup goes. Mexico does have a lot of senior members on that team, so we'll see how they do.
Jamaica again.
Yeah, but watch out for Canada. Canada is slowly coming up the ranks right now. Give them a couple more years, and with Davies going over, like he's.
I'm sorry. They were hyping by Canada's won their last 7 games. They're beating Martinique. They're beating, like Aruba.
We beat Haiti 1-0. The B squad with a B squad.
I'd like to see Canada beat a country that has more than 400,000 people in their country. Let's have that happen first.
They beat United States with a better team.
No,
just watch out for Canada.
Go ahead, Sean. No.
Yeah, I just wanted to go back to the Copa America because I'm conscious of the time now. But yeah, I'd just like to call a spade a spade. I thought that final was absolutely terrible. And bearing in mind, I had to watch this at 1 o'clock in the morning. This is my prelude, obviously, to Sunday evening in the final of the Euros. The goal was very good. Can't take that away from Di Maria, but the rest of the game was just appalling. And I don't know how they can get away in South America with the antics that they get. I mean, people were falling down, people holding their faces when no one had gone anywhere near them. And I've just looked up. So normally in any game of football, the ball is in play normally for 70 minutes. That's roughly the average. So I'm taking away free kicks, corners, whatever. It was in play for 52 minutes.
Wow.
In that final.
I'll agree with Sean that it did not give me confidence in either of those two teams in the World Cup next year. It knocked them down a peg in my book.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm not seeing Joga Bonita coming out of Brazil right now. I'm not. And I'm thinking that, we have to remember too, Messi will be 35, 36. Now, granted,
I've just looked. He's just turned 34 on the 23rd.
Okay, so he'll be 35. And you see what Cristiano Ronaldo's doing. I'll be 36. Yeah, that's right.
35.
No,
sorry, you're right.
Yeah, you're right. He's 34. So we'll see. I do think though that a couple of teams that we need to continue to keep an eye on is I think you need to still keep an eye on Denmark. Don't lose sight of them. I don't think yes, and that was another one in the Netherlands. I agree. I think Belgium is. I think Belgium's going to start to decline. I think they're going to. I mean, they relied too heavily on Romelu Lukaku already. They're going to really rely on him, and it's a shame that Eden Hazard has chosen to not keep himself physically to the point where he would be really an effective player. And the fact that he was outplayed by his brother is. But I'm sure Rob's happy about that. A good Bundesliga player. But we'll see. But I feeling good about England. I really am.
I think we're going to overlook Spain as well. We saw them coming up in this tournament, and we saw the Netherlands coming up, and you have this new generation. So don't be surprised if Spain does a little damage as well. I don't
want to, but you're right. I just don't want to. But yeah, you're right. I'm hoping that Portugal can continue to hang. But you see, look, maybe I'm the only one that noticed this, but for some reason, Renato Sanchez should only wear a Portugal jersey. He shouldn't wear any other team's jersey. When he plays for Portugal, the guy looks amazing, and he couldn't even start for Swansea City. I don't really get it, but there's talent in Portugal as well. But I just still think that I think England's going to. I don't want to say England's going to be the team to beat, because I don't think that England wants to be the team to beat. I think that's very bad for England. But you're looking at another year and a half, because you got to remember this isn't going to happen. But I will say this, because this tournament is taking place when it's taking place and in the temperature that it's taking place in, this might be the tournament that you can get more than one African team to qualify for possibly a round of 16 or a quarterfinal match. They play the Africa Cup of Nations, they usually play it in February, but they're used to that kind of like end my club season for a little while, go down, play my international tournament. And that tournament is getting more and more and more competitive every year. So, I don't think it'd be surprising to see Egypt, Nigeria, maybe the return. Senegal is deep. I mean, you can see Senegal actually playing well. Algeria, they can play. And, they won the recent Africa Cup of Nations. So there could be some noise made by an African country, which would be pretty cool. And Japan or Korea will get to the round of 16 and get knocked out. That'll happen too. But so we got a few more minutes left, and let's start talking about the club seasons. Cam, I kind of want to start with you because out of everybody, we all know that we can flip a coin, and half of us are going to be right about who's going to win the Scottish Premiership. So, Cam, what are we looking at this year up there with Rangers and Celtic? They just I know Rangers is keeping Jermaine Defoe as another player coach as well, so they're going to keep some vets up there. So what's going on up there?
Yeah, so this is the season where we've had a major overhaul. New CEO Dominic McKay, got a new coach from Australia, Angie Postecoglou, who Angie Postecoglou. You laugh, but he took Australia to its first ever final in what is it, the
Asia one.
The Asia,
yeah, the Asian Cup. Yeah.
No, I'm not doubting his ability, Cam. It's just I'm going to love to know how you're going to make a song using his name.
Well, so he's Greek, so there's already one about smashing dinner plates out there floating. That's pretty good. So, but that's the thing. He's not a big name guy, but looking at his record, it's really surprising that he's been overlooked by some of these other teams in Europe. Okay, fine, maybe not a Chelsea or a Man City, but like some of these other bigger teams. So I'm really excited for that. So far, we've been able to pick up Liam Shaw from Sheffield United, who I think is a really promising young player. And then just a few hours ago, we picked up, an Israeli prodigy, Lil Abada, who I'd never heard of him before. And, he's a winger. I looked up some of his stuff online. And again, I think another young, promising guy. So, for us to start getting transfers this early in the transfer window, rather than the last 24 to 48 hours, I'm excited. But I will say, this is a year of rebuild for Celtic. So, we'll see if these transfers play out. But, I'm excited. I mean, it can only go up from here from last year, right? Unless we get third place and Aberdeen wins the whole thing. So.
Is Steven Gerrard's, do you think this is his last season at Rangers?
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised, obviously depending on how well he does, but, how well he's been able to steer the ship for Rangers and how far he's brought them, to win their first ever league title, I think is, I think it's impressive, and I don't think it can be discounted. I mean, maybe, Jurgen Klopp is saying that he's maybe not got long at Liverpool left, and you just know that Liverpool fan base would love to see their legend back, but not only their legend, but a guy that's done so much with the Rangers. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see talks next year or midway through this season about him going to Liverpool. I really would not.
Bayern Rob, let's see. The question is not necessarily who's going to win the Bundesliga. I think the question is how many points are they going to win by and during which month is that going to occur? But you did point out, though, that Borussia Dortmund is trying to not get bullied and pushed around so much by bigger clubs. So let me get a quick little preview on the Bundesliga, especially, though, not from the Bayern perspective, but from the Borussia Dortmund perspective.
I think they have a new manager, Marco Rosa, who came from Gladbach. I think a lot of it's going to be whether they can keep Haaland. I think they will keep Haaland, but everybody has a price, like the $1 million man says. And so if Abramovich is going to throw oligarch money at Dortmund, they're going to have to probably say yes. The question is, can he use that money to replace him? It's somebody like him. I know they have a young player in Mokoku who's very young. I think it's going to be 17 this season. but I don't think he's ready to really take the throne there as a number 9. And then, so Dortmund, I think, definitely could compete for Champions League, but they need Haaland to really make a mark in Champions League. They need Haaland to get out of the group stage and definitely potentially make a run in the knockout stages. And Leipzig is going to be interesting too, because they have an American manager, and the second American manager, by the way, in the Bundesliga. Pellegrini over Stuttgart is the first one over there, and I think they're going to do well at Leipzig as well. They have some players. Jesse Marsch, knows German. They trust him over there at Leipzig in the Red Bull system, and he has a way of getting the best out of players. So it's going to be pretty much a battle between those two. I think if Sancho stayed at Dortmund, I think they would have had an excellent shot to really compete with Bayern for the top spot. But with Sancho gone, Gio Reyna's going to get more minutes, but he's no Jadon Sancho, and I think because of that, I think Bayern almost by default will win the Bundesliga once again.
So how do you think G and Matt are going to do about getting Schalke back up to the Bundesliga? How do you think that's going to happen, Rob? What do you think?
Oh man, I don't know, man. It all depends on what they do with Matthew Hoppe, I guess.
Yeah, we're hitting the ground running, man. We're in overtime right now. We're doing double days. So we're getting those guys ready for the heat and the humidity, the fall time. But we're getting there, man. It's a struggle. So flying back and forth, it's put a toll on myself. Matt's a new father, taking a toll on him. So, it's worth it. You'll see us move up from the second league all the way up to the Bundes. So we're right there, man.
All right. Well, we're not going to talk Premier League today because we only have about a minute left. So we're going to go ahead and pump the brakes on that. But we're going to be back on the regular schedule, I believe, starting on Monday of next week. But I think we're going to stick with the 9:00 time simply because those of us with kids they have to put down an extra half an hour is often very, very, very nice. So London Sean, hopefully you can keep hanging with us with this 9:00 start or 2:00 start where you are. But I figured a half an hour wouldn't be too bad. So
I'll turn into a vampire by the time I finish doing this podcast.
That's all we need, man. That's all we need. We can all ship you some good old typo. You'll be good to go.
Just last thing.
Absolutely.
Chelsea Mike, I know you've just been, Mr. Abramovich has just very kindly given you £175 million to go and play with in the sweetie shop. The guy that, exactly. The guy you should go and play, and I think for me, he was my favourite player of the tournament. Go and sign Pedri from Barcelona because that kid is absolutely fantastic. And if you're looking for a number 10, I know you might have to take Mr. Mount's position, but that kid is sensational.
Agreed. All right.
I think I saw a stat that he had the most completed passes.
Yes.
And he's 18.
I think in one of the games, his completed passes was 100%.
It was 100%, yes. And I believe he averaged over 90% for the tournament. I mean, it was something ridiculous like that. And also to say this too, I believe Calvin Phillips ran for more kilometers than any other player in the tournament. I mean, he was absolutely at play. I thought he played out of his mind. I really did.
He got used to that as a kid, running away from the police in Leeds, living on the council estate, so he can run really fast and really fast.
Oh yeah. He's got I mean, there's going to be a documentary about him on YouTube, but sooner or later, because he's got a tremendous story. But all right, so for those of you who are watching us on YouTube, please remember to press the like and subscribe button. I'm going to actually do some plugs here. You can also find us on Spotify and on Apple iTunes and Amazon Podcasts. You can find us on anywhere you get your podcasts, or even on Stitcher. So please spread the word. And so for Chelsea Mike, London Sean, Celtic Cam, Coach G, and Bayern Rob, I'm Stead. Mike will be back next week. And that was the Too Many Guys Soccer Show. And to quote Mike's salutations, we did all right this week. Hopefully we will do better next week. Bye, everybody.